Welcome guys to another video. In this video I'm going to be talking about the state of Call of Duty Zombies and why I think Zombies is in a very confusing position at the moment, and where I think it could go uphill or downhill based off of the next few months and their decisions, especially with the next coming map and how the story is going to go. Honestly, my first point would be Liberty Falls and Terminus were not great maps compared to some of the previous maps that we've had in the past. Like, if you look at BO4, 9 was one of the best starting maps of all time, and I personally enjoyed it so much. Same with BO3, we had Shadows of Evil, which at launch wasn't considered a great map, but over time people started to realize how great it was, and personally I think it's one of my favorite maps of all time, definitely in the top 3. I enjoyed every aspect of it, the magic, the dark atmosphere. It was personally one of my favorite maps. I think Black Ops 6 and especially Cold War have had very dull maps. I think the story has been alright, but I think it's kind of changing like constantly, and they're not focused on the right things up until Citadelle Des Morts. I think Cold War, the 4 maps were basic. They didn't have too much that really enticed you to actually get to know the story, except for the ending of Forsaken, obviously, with the whole reveal and stuff and Rick Toffin. But I think Black Ops 6, especially moving into this new Season 1 Reloaded, has kind of changed my perspective personally on how they're going to go about it. I think this Easter egg for Citadelle Des Morts is absolutely perfect. It has everything I've wanted personally from an Easter egg in a while. It has the elemental weapons, which is one thing I've wanted back for a long time. And I was really disappointed that Cold War didn't really fulfill that at all. But BO6 definitely has fixed that finally, with coming out with a really cool type, especially with the swords. I know a lot of people have personally wanted elemental swords, and although I think they could have some improvements, such as like making them similar to the Shadows of Evil swords. I think making it so they have more of a wide radius of attack would be a little bit better, but I do think personally they're pretty much perfect. Maybe adjust the quest to upgrading them a little bit. I think they're a little easy. I think adding a little bit more of a challenge would have been nice, but I can understand from their perspective because they're trying to allow newer players to get into Call of Duty Zombies. So I I can kind of see it from their perspective, and I'm not going to complain too much about it being easy because I'm just happy we finally got it back. Also, Citadelle Des Morts has a beautiful design. I think the castle is awesome. I like all of the magic aspects of the map and how it always feels like every time I play the map, I've felt like it's a new experience. And I think every time I've done the Easter egg, I've enjoyed it. There's not one time where I've been like, oh, this is annoying to complete or anything. I think it's constantly consistent throughout the entire map and throughout the Easter egg, where it's always enjoyable. The aspect of having the 4 bastard knights is amazing. I love how you get the sword, like originally with the stamp and having that dialogue that comes from craft, and everything was pretty well done. Starting off in that central part of the village with the statue and that leading obviously into the boss fight is really cool. I like that starting area. It has everything to stay in that starting area for quite a bit of time. So you can complete certain challenges or you can go for your own challenges. And I think that's a great part of the map's design as well. The incantations are also a very good part of the map. I like having the elemental tactical. That is one of the better things that they have done with this map. I like how all of them have their own category they fit in, like the fire, the lightning. They're all different and unique in their own aspects, but they all broadly do the same thing. The creating quest for all of them is pretty cool. I like that you have to have the swords to actually unlock them, which kind of fits into like if you're doing that sword, you kind of have to do that incantation, especially doing the 4-player Easter egg run. I think it fits in very well to how like every person has their own objectives, which is really well divided throughout the Easter egg. My next point would be that they're kind of finally listening to the community a little bit. I know in Cold War, they didn't really listen to the actual zombies community, and especially with the last few Call of Duties like Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies. I didn't play it, so I'm not too familiar with it, but I knew it wasn't something I was interested in, especially with like Vanguard Zombies. I played it a little bit. I didn't really personally enjoy it, and that's honestly why I haven't played since Cold War. Really, I haven't touched Call of Duty in a while. And Cold War, I think it was more the only reason I actually played Cold War was because of COVID and it releasing during that time. There wasn't as much to do. And Zombies, I enjoyed the camo grind. I think Dark Ether was a great camo to go for. I think it looked phenomenal, and I think that's one of the things that kind of made it appealing to a certain like player base. Personally, I think BO6 has added the challenge of grinding camos in a better way than Cold War did. I think Cold War was too easy in certain categories, especially with like the D machine spot where you could pretty much just get headshots for hours and it was pretty easy. BO6 has made it a little bit more complicated. Yes, there's the certain spots, but I think overall it's a little bit harder. It's more time consuming, less challenging. To get back to my original point, I think them listening to the community and giving us this map, first of all, is great. They gave us elemental weapons, which is something a lot of the community has wanted for a while. And they're also listening to like the Mangler spawns, which was a huge issue for higher rounds if you're using anything but like the jet gun and the GS45. It was almost impossible. You could not do proper training on rounds 40 and up. Like you would just get smacked around by the Manglers, and I know a lot of people dislike that. So I'm glad they fixed that. Although it does seem like they made the regular zombies hit a little bit harder. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like my armor is breaking a lot quicker now. But if that's the price to pay to have less Manglers, I'm not going to complain too much about it. And now I'm going to get into the reason I think it could go downhill and some of my problems with BO6. Especially right now, we have the voice actor situation. A lot of them have been pulled out, as we've seen the Sam voice actress. She's changed, and a lot of that whole SAG-AFTRA strike thing with the AI usage, I don't think it's fair to the actresses and actors. Activision needs to understand that that's not okay, and that they need to have contracts that fit to the voice actors that we know and care about with their voices in Call of Duty Zombies. Not changing those is a big component of it. All the way through the original games, we had the same voice actors pretty much for the entire way. Having it change now, like for the newer ones, kind of defeats the purpose of having those characters and having those personalities in the game. And I think they need to work on that. I think if they start changing the voice actors and voice actresses consistently, it'll ruin the story quite a bit and ruin the overall perception of Activision and the Zombies series. It's going to make people less enticed into the actual Zombies story and less of an understanding overall of what the Zombies community has loved about the Zombies series up until now. My next thing would be the next Zombies map that they release. It has to be good. Terminus and Liberty Falls, a lot of people rank them in the mid-tier range. 5 to 7 out of 10. Nothing like, oh, this is awesome. They're just there. Liberty Falls is like a better town. Small, good for camo grinding. I didn't care for the story of it. I don't even really care for the map. I don't think it's a very great looking map. And playability, it's alright. It's not the best map ever. Like, it's just kind of one of those mediocre small maps that you play for camo. Terminus, on the other hand, is a cool Easter egg. I like how they did some of the things. I like the Wonder Weapon. The Wonder Weapon was actually pretty cool. But the whole traveling to islands and stuff kind of felt annoying at some points. I don't like the water mechanics in the game. That was one of my biggest issues with it, and personally why I have Terminus is like an 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 map, because it has a cool boss fight. I will give it that. The boss fight for Terminus was actually pretty great, and it felt challenging enough that when you finished it, it was rewarding. And for the next map, I want them to lean into that more creative aspect, especially like Citadel. I like it feels like they actually tried with Citadel to make something that was out of the ordinary of the past couple years of zombies, and it felt extremely similar to BO3's creative ideology and how they went about making the maps in Black Ops 3. And I think if they keep that creative process going like they have with Citadel, how it's very similar to the old Call of Duty Black Ops like series of creativity, I think they can make a perfect map and perfect maps going onwards. They could definitely go in a direction with the next map that feels like Origins, but also has a unique twist, and that's what I'm hoping for. If they do a map, it can be smaller. I don't mind them going smaller than Citadel and Terminus, but it has to fit into the story and have such a unique aspect of it that it makes it replayable and makes it enjoyable. And I think if they continue down the path of how they did Citadel and how they did the boss fight for Terminus and stuff, and keep the good aspects of everything that they've done and continue onwards with it, I think the next Call of Duty will be fantastic, and I think all the next maps will be fantastic. And I think the zombies can continue to go upwards and lead us back into a generation that is like BO3, where every map felt like an experience that you always wanted to play. So that's my 2 cents for the position of Call of Duty and what I think is to come in the next year or few months, and how I think the trajectory of the zombie storyline is going to go, and how I feel about it and what I'm hoping to see. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Peace.